Alright, so this is what you're going to need to make pizza dough, my style. This is what I use. You're going to need a nice bowl, of course. Some sort of spatula or mixer. I mean, I don't have a small hand mixer, so... And I actually prefer to do it this way. The seasonings you're going to need, of course, we have some salt. I'm going to use onion powder, garlic powder. I'm off center here. I'm going to use some parsley, rosemary. Wait, the label's not there. It's here. Rosemary. Little basil. Oregano. You're going to need a packet of dry yeast, and doesn't matter what brand. But with the dry yeast, I use about 2/3 of it. I'll leave a third out because, in my opinion, I feel like the whole packet makes it yeasty, if that's a word. You're going to need about a cup of warm water. So on the side here, I have some water warmed in a pot. Do not make it hot. I want it like warm. You're also going to need, of course, flour. We're going to start, I start with, actually this is about, what, 1.5, just under 1.5 cups of flour. You can do 1 1/3. But you're also going to keep your flour bag or your flour container on the side, because I have it in this big jar. We're going to add flour to it as we go along. And the other thing is you need honey. I don't use sugar in my pizza dough, so I'm going to use honey. So let's start out making the liquid part of this. So I'm going to take some of the warm water. In this pot is about 2 cups, but let's go for like 1 cup. You don't need a lot to start out with. That's good enough. What you're going to add to this is about, like I said, 2/3 of this packet. If you want to add the whole thing, that's up to you. It's just, in my personal opinion, if you add the whole thing, it's yeasty. Yeah, that's about it. Alright, that's about 2/3 of it. Take a look just to make sure. Yeah, that's good. And to that, we're going to add a teaspoon, not a teaspoon, a tablespoonful of this honey. Honey, my honey. You know what's funny? People who call their significant others honey, what if, like, their significant other is diabetic? Wouldn't that, like, harm them? Shouldn't they call them, hey, my insulin shot? I don't know. Alright, look. You're going to add about, oh, this is good honey. You're going to add about, oh, pardon the sound. Yeah, about that much. So a spoonful. There's a tablespoonful of honey. You may need something to get it off the spoon. Alright, you're going to give it a good mix. And the next thing you're going to do is, make sure I get it all off. You can put the spoon away. Give it a good mix. A good stirring. So now, what we're going to do is, you're going to take a nice kitchen towel and you're going to cover it. And you're going to leave it alone for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. Alright, so this is literally going to be here 10 minutes and we'll come back. Voila, time has passed. Alright, 10 minutes. Now let's take a look at this. Bam, that's what it looks like. Doesn't look too appetizing, but the sugar and the warm water, or the honey and the warm water, has activated the yeast. Alright? Okay, whatever. So now, maybe let me position this camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so to this, we're going to start out with my cup and 1/3 cup of flour. And as I mentioned, you're going to keep the rest of your flour here on the side because we're going to add more. But I'm going to start out with this. I'm going to mix it a little bit. I don't have one of those mechanical hand mixers, and I actually prefer it that way. I live in a tiny apartment, so I ain't got space for all this stuff. Now, as you mix this, you're going to see that it changes consistency, and that means that we're going to turn it into a nice dough. Dough, you don't know, whatever. Okay. Do you want to watch me do this? I would elapse time on this, but I kind of want you to see how it changes. Just getting that stuff off the side. Okay, so you see here it's kind of like oatmeal or like porridge. And that's, wait, make sure I get any of the dry dough hiding on the, or dry flour I should say. Okay, so it looks like porridge, right, or like oatmeal. So now we're gonna add a little more flour to it to get it to the consistency that we want. So I'm gonna start out with, let's see here, measure it out. Okay, this is about 1/4 of a cup. And I'm going to resume mixing. If you pay close attention, you kind of see it's changing. It's changing consistency. See? Get the stuff off the side there. The flour off the side there. Okay, now at this point I want to add my seasonings. So I'm going to start with about a teaspoonful of this here salt. Sal. I don't want to make it a heaping teaspoon. That's good. There's my salt. I'm going to go in for the garlic powder, also about a teaspoon, a flat teaspoon. I'm going to go for my onion powder. This onion powder, it's caking, which is good because that means it doesn't have any of that anti-caking agent in it, whatever, okay? Flat. Alright, some perejil or parsley. I'm going to add half a teaspoon. I'm not going to go gung-ho on the parsley or any of the remaining seasonings. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of each. Same with the basil, same with the oregano, and with the rosemary. Alright, I'm going to accelerate time here. Okay, so all my seasonings are in there, so I'm going to go on ahead and add another 1/4 cup of flour and mix it up. We're also going to add a little olive oil to this. I forgot to mention that, sorry. I'm very sorry, but I'm not going to add it yet. So here we go. Get everything nice and mixed. Am I on camera right? Trying to not get in your way. This is not a professional production. You can kind of see it's coming together. It's getting to be doughy. Okay. So now I'm going to add a smidgen of olive oil. Not even. This is going to be like maybe half a teaspoon. Yeah, that's about right. And we're going to continue stirring it. This is much funner than using a hand mixer. Okay, now you can see, it's gotten to the point where it's kind of like sticking to my spatula. So I'm going to go in there with my hands. And what we're going to do is another 1/4 cup of flour. And I'm going to start working it over. I can feel it's warm, like the yeast is reacting. Okay. You can see it's kind of turned into like a Play-Doh, like a clay, which is good. Okay. It's almost to the point where I'm going to take it out the bowl. But I want it to be a little more doughy. So I'm going to go on ahead and add a little more flour. This is why you want to keep the flour on the side. This is about another 1/4 cup. And you're going to see it's getting to exactly the consistency that I want. Okay, this is it. So now, what I'm going to do is, on my counter space here, the countertop, make sure your countertop is clean, like mine. I have some appliances there, I moved them back to make space. We're now going to knead this on the countertop for a good 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put a little flour on the countertop. And I'm going to knead this dough here, literally, for 5 minutes. Okay? And from what I've read, this is what really activates the yeast and the sugars and everything in it to become nice and doughy. So I'm literally gonna be here for 5 minutes. I'm not gonna make you watch me, but maybe you can see my movements here. And if you decide to try this, you can copy it. Alright, it's time to do some time elapse magic. Okay, I just wanted to show you I'm halfway done kneading, but I did add a dash more flour on it because it started sticking to the counter. Just a dash more. It's not even, less than a spoonful. And I got about a minute more, and then I'm gonna go on to the next step. Okay, so here's my dough. It's not sticking to the counter no more. We're ready for the next step. Alright, so let's put them there. So what we're gonna do is, you're gonna take the same bowl or a different bowl. Make sure if it's the same bowl you clean it out. We're gonna put about, what's that, a teaspoon of olive oil. With my silicone brush, I'm gonna coat the bottom and the sides. Okay? And we're gonna take our dough and put them right in there. Now we're gonna cover it, same kitchen towel, and it's gonna sit here for 1 hour. 1 hour, okay? Don't touch it, don't look at it, don't talk to it. Leave them alone for 1 hour. Okay. Alright, peoples, let's take a look at our dough. This is an hour that has passed. Wham! If you notice, it's risen slightly. Alright, so now what are we going to do? I'm going to Get a nice board here. Actually, no, before we do the board, I forgot. The size of this dough is actually good enough for like a full like size pizza pie you would see at the pizzeria, but we don't have that space, or I don't have that space. So I'm going to divide the dough into 4 parts, and I do have a pizza dish or pan that is about 12 inches across, so we're not going to have space for like a whole full-size pie. So what I'm going to do is take the dough out, give it a nice kneading, and I'm going to divide it into 4 parts. I mean, if you have a full size, you know, the space to make a whole pie, you can use this the way it is, but I don't. So I want to show you that I'll split this. What I'm going to use is, very carefully, the flat side of a knife. You can also use a spatula. So I'm going to cut this into 4. And even this half you can use to make like a full-size pie. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for like personal sized. Be careful with the knife. You can also use like a spatula, or, you know, I don't have one of those food scrapers. Okay, so I have 4 pieces. I'm gonna put a little flour in each and just briefly knead each one. Nothing major. You can even use some of the flour that you've put down here. Let's fold it over, and then fold it over. Okay, now I'm going to take a nice board that I have here. I'm going to put a little flour on top, and I'm going to let each ball of dough rest. For how long? We're going to let it rest for another hour. Listen, if you decide to do this, ooh, excuse me, I hit the camera, you really need a lot of time. Okay, so we're gonna let it rest another hour. Okay, it's been an hour. Let's take a look. Ta-da! You can see that they've risen even a bit more. So what I'm gonna do is, I'll make 2 pies. I'll make just a regular cheese pie, and I have on the side here some mushrooms, onions, and peppers, and some other veggies. Let me see what I decide to do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use 2 of these, and the other 2 I'm gonna put away. When you put away the dough, what you want to do is get some sort of airtight container. Let me see if I have one here. I should have prepared. Alright, so I do have a smaller glass bowl, and what I'm going to do is put a dash of olive oil in there. Get it spread all over the sides, on the bottom. And I'm going to take the dough that I want to store, drop it right in there, brush it with the rest of the residue, so to speak, of olive oil, cover it, and put it in the fridge. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to let it sit in the fridge. I'm going to try to use this within, get some of that air out. I'm going to try to use this within 4 days. I don't want to let it sit in there too much. Alright, so that's how I store my extra dough. Okay. Alright, so let's start on my first pie. I have this nice pizza pan I bought from the supermarket. I've given it good use, as you can tell. It's very convenient, especially if you don't own a pizza stone. And this particular one, I think it's like 12 inches across. So very convenient if you have a small oven in your kitchen. So first I'm gonna get some flour on here. That's a lot, so I'm just gonna take a little off. Okay, then my dough. Make sure I'm centered. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna press in the middle. Start from the middle and work your way around. You know, you're not gonna press here; it'll go out unevenly, and occasionally flip it over. Working from the middle out on each side. Do you want to watch me do this? You get the idea. I'm not gonna make you watch me. So you want to keep doing this until you cover most of the pizza pan or stone or whatever you have. You can also use like a big frying pan, an oven safe frying pan. I have one this size, or even I've used my paella pan also. Okay, so let's accelerate time. Alright, so here's the dough nicely kneaded onto the pan there. And now what I'm going to do is put a dash of olive oil on there. Ooh, that's plenty. Spread it around on top there, on the sides. Okay, now I can start putting, after I do this, I can start putting the sauce on there. Which, man, I should have done a video showing you how I make sauce. Pretty easy. I'm gonna start with 2 spoonfuls. And by the way, my oven, since I started kneading the dough out onto this pan, I put the oven at 350. So the oven's been going. Do the process of kneading it onto the pan. So I heard that when you make pizza, try not to put too much sauce, like don't overwhelm it. So I start with 2 spoonfuls. Here's a third. And basically then I'm going to work it up until the edge of the dough. This is good. If you want more sauce, that's up to you. People, you know, it's all subjective. Put a little more here. All subjective, it's what you like. Okay, so that's good. Ooh, I dropped my bag here. Anyway, alright, so now we're going to move on to the cheese. I have a nice mix of mozzarella, Parmesan, and provolone. And that's another thing, they say don't put too much cheese, but that I don't understand. Alright, this bag wasn't full, so let me go grab the other and I'll be right back. Alright, I think that's pretty good cheese coverage. Maybe I overdid it. Now what I'm going to do is, should this be my plain pie or my vegetable pie? What I'm going to do is I'm going to top it all off with a little dried oregano, or you can use like Italian seasoning. You know what? I'm going to make this my vegetable pie, because my veggies are sitting here waiting for action. Let me start with the onion and the peppers. And then this mushroom is a pretty big mushroom. I didn't notice. Taking it out the pack. Okay. That's good. You know what? This little mushroom piece is pretty thick. Let me cut them in half. All right. That's good. All right. So now we're gonna. If you want to, you can put a little more cheese on there, but I don't think it's necessary. But what I will do, I will add a little more of the oregano. Alright, so now it's going to go into the oven for, I'm going to start with 10, it may not even need 10 minutes. The reason why I say that is because, well, let me move this over. Yeah, this is my second oven in this apartment, and I notice it's slightly different from the original the landlord gave me. So I'm going to start it off 350. I'm going to go close to 10 minutes, maybe like on the 8th minute, I'll take a look at it, okay? Alright, so it's been kind of 10 minutes, 11 minutes. Nice, nice. Can you see that? What you want to do is check the bottom. Yeah. Let me set this on my countertop. Okay, what I kind of wanted to show you is that, like in the pizzeria, I want to get under and take a look. You see how the dough is nice and browned on the bottom? Crust. So this is actually on the stove top. I'm going to let it cool down here for a couple of minutes before I cut into it. Alright, here's my first pie. Let me got one of these. Hee hee hee. I like to start from the middle. Ooh, you hear the crispiness? Alright. You know what? Let me deal with this. And then you can watch me eat it. Hey 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 hey. Alright everyone, here is my pizza. It was so good that I ate one of the pieces on the way to the living room here. So, I'm going to have it with this nice Merlot. If you drink too much, we call it Merlot. Should I show you a plain pie too? Alright, let me take a look. Alright, so here's my regular pie, plain pie. Let me slice it up. Alright, so here's my plain pie sliced up, and I have more fun. You can eat it with these guys. Hey,